We do have some breaking news. Kash Patel opens conspiracy probe. Let's break down what that is, because obviously it's been a maybe contentious time for Kash and for Bongino and for Pam Bondi. A lot of people that are in the news, a lot of our friends here. But in this moment, you just had President Trump say he's very unhappy with Vladimir Putin. There's a lot going on, but this is one that kind of is slipping by as this new probe has been opened really to search for what feels like a pretty broad conspiracy.
That's right. This comes from John Solomon at Just the News. John Solomon been on this broadcast many times. Great reporting out of John Solomon. And this headline is FBI opens grand conspiracy probe on weaponization, opening door to special prosecutor. So one, I know people are probably like, oh, not another special prosecutor. But what is interesting about this is we talked last week about John Brennan and James Comey, that there have been criminal referrals handed over to the FBI from the CIA on Brennan, and that the FBI themselves were looking at Comey. And one of the big cautions were that many of the things that we would think that would be looked at would be outside the statute of limitations when they committed an alleged crime, if it were all the way back in 2015, 2016. What it looks like the FBI, at least based on this reporting, is looking into is that it wasn't isolated incidents. So, false document filings that happened on X day, but that their behavior was a part of a broad conspiracy by former and current deep state actors, if you want to say, or former government employees or officials that were conspiring against one political party and trying to benefit another political party in our elections. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, okay, yeah, we've seen it. We know that happened. What makes this different is that if it can tie together under a conspiracy banner, things that happened back in 2016 that shows this ongoing effort. Then you look at the former Intel leader's letter that John Brennan spearheaded, saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, misinformation. And then even things that happened in the 2024 election. If they can tie this together, that this was an ongoing conspiracy, it would open up the door for them to use those things as evidence against this conspiracy before a grand jury, which would allow them to potentially move forward with prosecution.
But it's also a search for the theoretical smoking gun here. If there is that information that's accessible to the American people, something they can actually put out, that will be the question. That will be whether we actually get to that point. If you get to the point where you actually can say, here's exactly what happened, here's what we're doing, at least that's more information to the American people.
What we're seeing here is that under Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, that the FBI has opened a grand conspiracy investigation into years of alleged political weaponization against Republicans by the DOJ, FBI, and intelligence agencies. This goes back even to the way that the Hillary Clinton email scandal was treated, through things like the Hunter Biden laptop, Russiagate, the special counsels being appointed. It's going to be a catch-all investigation looking into whether there was this conspiracy within people in the intel community and Justice Department to try and tip the scales in elections towards Democrats over Republicans and President Trump. There are some other things out of this reporting that they're saying need to be declassified to get to the bottom of this that could actually help boost the case before a grand jury. Two of those things are a classified annex to the Inspector General's report on the Clinton email investigation. That's where we got a public report, but there's this classified annex that Senator Grassley has been trying to get for years, which typically senators like Senator Grassley are able to get those things. Still hasn't been able to get it and get it into the public. But then also you have the Clinton intelligence plan that Special Counsel John Durham on the Russiagate investigation brought up that has also still never been declassified. And there are things within that many people think, if once it's in the open and could be used for a grand jury, could really boost the case that this is a broad conspiracy. This wasn't one action by James Comey or John Brennan way back in 2016. It was an ongoing effort utilizing their intelligence sources and backgrounds to go after one party over the other and try to fix the election for Democrats in the United States, not once in 2016, but again in 2020 and even in 2024.
That was a very just the news answer.
Well, I thought it was appropriate.
It was. It's your shout out to John Solomon.
I like him.
Let's go to Julie in Oregon, who's got a question or a comment. Go ahead.
With regard to overall conspiracy, I think, oh my gosh, it's about time. I'm certainly hoping that all of this stuff will be linked together. Many of us feel that it has been, and that it's about time that it finally gets put out there, and I'm going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, Julie, I think there is that thought. Will, we talked about it, but just whether they can actually get it to the point where you, Julie, and our listeners and supporters will feel confident in whatever the final report is. Are they actually able to find those, as I said, proverbial smoking guns that tie all of this kind of together and really can expose what we all believe is probably happening and what happened over the last decade? But, it's sad to say this. I could see in the comments, there's not a lot of good morale happening right now,
right?
For this department, and they need a good win here. This could take time.
If you were to look at things that President Trump was elected on, this would be one of them. Obviously, the Epstein release was a big one of them. They can't afford, I feel like, as the Department of Justice and the FBI, what they ran on was to restore faith in the institution. And a lot of people within the more base, the more MAGA crowd, have kind of become disillusioned with the jobs of some of these kind of superstar heroes that they were seen as put in these positions because of the Epstein stuff last week.
Yep.
This
that Avengers crew,
they can't fail on this. If they,
that's what I'm saying.
And the caution also is that building this grand conspiracy, whether that be some sort of seditious conspiracy charge or a RICO charge, the U.S. government, as of late, has a pretty poor track record when going after RICO charges and prosecuting RICO cases. If they don't have this buttoned up in a way that they can secure a conviction, because you know what people don't see as accountability anymore, because it's not an indictment. Indicting someone is meaningless at this point. If the deep state continues to win by getting off on charges, by being able to get something lesser than full accountability, the base will lose that last little bit of faith in the institution that may be there and the hope that it can be rebuilt. So while this report is encouraging to us because we've lived these scandals and these Russiagate issues and things for 10 years now.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything until it does.
Exactly.
It kind of has to get there.
They can talk about an investigation all they want, but unless they are able to fulfill that promise, but once again, it has to be there.
Don't want to talk about it. I say why not?
The law has to, they have to have these clear violations of law. We don't just want people locked up for no reason. But we see the reason. We know it's there. If they can prove it in court and can get it done, though, I think that will go a long way to restore the trust in the institutions as well in these people that President Trump put there to lead it.
Yeah, and the reason is you. Let's go to Vince, who's calling in Florida on line 1. You're on the air.
I have a question about the 51 intelligence officers that signed off on the FISA warrants for the Russian collusion, which we come to find out was a big hoax. Is anything going to happen to them?
So, Vince, I think there is a little bit of conflation in two stories. One, the 51 intelligence officers, that number specifically relates to the letter, the open letter that was sent about the Hunter Biden disinformation laptop story. But yes, there were intelligence officers and individuals that pushed and put forward the FISA warrants. A judge would have signed off on that, and a judge did. One of the biggest miscarriage of justice in this entire story, which once again shows that there's favorable treatment to deep state actors, was that one of the individuals that was signing affidavits and things of that for these FISA warrants to try and get the FISA warrant was a CIA analyst that modified documents. So effectively lying before the court, took off portions of the evidence they were putting forward that would have made a judge say, no, you cannot get this, and made it seem worse by selectively editing this to ensure they would get a FISA warrant against Carter Page. That was a criminal act. and he got a slap on the wrist. When someone used a secret court where you are not allowed to defend yourself, and someone entrusted with upholding the Constitution lied on a FISA warrant and able to get that warrant to surveil an American citizen, do espionage on an American citizen, all for the point of making sure Donald Trump isn't elected. That is election interference. That is an attempted coup, trying to overthrow the norms of our elections and governments. And that person got a slap on the wrist instead of going to prison, as he probably should have. So that is the issue there. At that point, nothing will happen to him, but this broader conspiracy could go after those that were around him, those that were his leaders, in order to finally see justice served in this American tragedy that we've been living for almost 10 years now.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Sekulow program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.